Welcome back guys to another contested territory video. Today we will be doing some high rounds on Zigzag Mountain. First we will take a look at our defense. So here we have 6 nearly max temples, 12 2-4 spike factories, 6 sabotage ninjas, 20 cripple Moab snipers, and various abilities, most of which are under village influence. On maps that allow darklings and aces, you would also have 12 rays of doom, and if you have the space, as many ground zeros as you can. If you have a very good PC, specters would be better than ground zeros. If you have access to farms, you would also want a 2-4 farm instead of a 2-4 sniper for money. The temples and spike factories are the main source of DPS. Constantly chaining the spike storm abilities will also help popping those ZOMGs. The sabotage ability is also very crucial. Having everything half speed gives your towers more time to attack and makes micro a lot easier. The overclock ability is another important ability. Overclocking certain towers gives a huge DPS boost. The idea would be to overclock all temples, some spike factories, and some snipers. Cripple Moab snipers can be helpful too. Staggering their fire rates by upgrading some to 4-0 instead of 4-1 and putting some outside of village influence, along with overclock, can nearly permanently stun ZOMGs. If you want to be a bit cheap you can also use the hypersonic sniper glitch, but I won't do that here. Now we have all our other abilities. The MIB call to arms ability, when combined with overclock, quadruples the DPS of your towers, making it very useful. It would be best to put as many temples, spike factories, and snipers under their influence, as well as using high-energy beacons to reduce the cooldown. Moab assassins are used as a backup in case you forget to sabotage or spike storm early DDTs, but you still have to react quickly for them to save you. The Super Monkey Fan Club is only used to help time the sabotage ability correctly because both abilities last 15 seconds. The idea would be to active the Super Monkey Fan Club as soon as you sabotage. However, on maps with more space it would be best to use hypersonic juggernauts. The 2-4 mortar ability, when sold in rebot, can stall balloons nearly indefinitely. You can get to very high rounds with it. But you might have been asking yourself, why the fuck are there all these useless abilities over here? Well, those abilities are not there to be used. Their only purpose is to move the ability icons closer to the mortar so that when you sell and rebuy, you won't have to move your mouse as much. So without further ado, let's play around. So I start up with sabotage, overclocking all temples, and 2 spike storms. The sabotage and overclock are obvious, for the slowdown and DPS boost respectively. The spike storms are used to deal with the first DDTs. Notice how I wait for the spike storms to land on the track before I start the round. After the initial spike storms you'll have to use a few spike storms every few seconds to deal some extra ZOMG damage. Shortly afterwards, I activate my B call to arms for even more DPS. Like the spike storms, from now on you'll have to chain call to arms. If you have high-level monkey knowledge you might as well just time the call to arms and the sabotage together. However, be sure not to activate another call to arms ability when another is already in effect. This is because of a glitch where if a tower is under the influence of call to arms, activating another call to arms ability won't extend the duration of the DPS boost. Instead, it'll just prevent you from any subsequent call to arms usage from having any effect. Same applies for overclock. This is especially dangerous because the few seconds where your temples aren't overclocked is the opportunity the balloons get to advance much further along the track. In fact, that was what caused me to die the last time I went for a new contested territory personal best. Speaking of overclock, you probably have noticed that I don't overclock all my desired towers at once, rather I split them into 2 groups of 6. I do this because when my overclock does run out, I don't want to have to spend too much time overclocking them again. It would be best to put them into groups of 3 or 4, but I was just a bit lazy. The even bigger advantage with doing that is being able to overclock another tower before the overclock boost runs out on another tower, which would allow more towers to be overclocked in general. Like previously mentioned, the towers other than your temples that you want to overclock would be snipers and spike factories. Eventually, all those strategies I mentioned earlier won't be enough and you'll instead have to resort to mortar stalling. Here the mortar stalling only became necessary at certain times, but eventually it'll be necessary at nearly any moment. Now you might be wondering why I didn't get to that point. The truth was, I lost after this round due to a fucking glitch. Yes, you heard me right. After I finished this round I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning to see myself back at the BMC title screen. What was even worse was that on one of my previous attempts my P-series started at round 134. Have a day better than the day I got booted out on round 161.